Hello, Tony here for Lightwave Digital. Welcome back to part 3. So, in part 2, you were texturing each of the shapes in layout, ready to do some rendering. So, here's my shapes rendered, and I've got them on the ground plane. Now, in my scene, we've got 2 lights. So, we'll click on the light and click on properties at the bottom. And as you can see, it's a distant light. So the distant light's a little bit like the sunlight. So if I was to go to the rotate option under modify and grab the red handle and rotate, and then you look in this bottom corner what's happening, it's as if the rotate, obviously we're controlling the sun and where the shadows go. So let's say I wanted the shadows to be here, like so. What we can then do is decide how strong and the colour. So let's say we want it to be a warmer, maybe yellow. So you can see the yellowness coming into it. Let's say we wanted it to be 10. So now it's a lot brighter. So this is if a light's coming down. The actual sampling is how, if you find like some of your renders have got graininess in them, the higher this is, the better it will clear. So I'd go up in 2s or 4s and see and keep testing your renders. The angle is how much of a softness you want around the actual shadow. So if you can see, we've got a sharp shadow here. So if I was to put 5 in the angle, it's notice it feathers it here, so it's not as sharp. So look at the change when I put like 0.2 or something in, really sharp. So let's put 5 in and leave it so it's quite smooth. And then what you can do as well, under here as well, you can actually tell it to not light an object. So for instance, let's say for instance I didn't want it to light, say the middle. I can tell it to extrude it, to exclude it. So you can see now, look, it's removing it, which is quite cool. If we go up to the current light and change it to the environment light, so like I said, the distant light, that's the actual kind of like a sunlight, and then the environment light is the 360 environment that wraps around the actual scene. And as you can see currently, it's this. So we can change this and make it lots of different things, which we will do in another tutorial. However, for this tutorial, you could just say, I don't want to see it, but I just at the background, I just want to see the render. So you could do that. And you can also change the how strong it is. So if you wanted to turn it down, so it's not as bright, so it's more like as the sun's going down, it's hitting this object like so. And that's kind of the very, I mean, there's lots of other lights, and you can even get more than what's in here. However, that's just the basics of it. You know, changing the actual intensity, changing what kind of light it is. You can give them names, how strong they are, and then, like I said, the quality and the angle. And that's the basics of the lights. Now all we want to do now is press render. So I've got a camera here and the properties, and these are the default settings you get. So 720p, and the samples here is it's going to like send out invisible kind of beams and take like between 1 and 8 samples to kind of build this up. So all we got to do is go to render currently, and there's a lot more to rendering, but for you as beginners, just to get your first render out of the way, click render and you click render frame, and then what it's going to do, and it's based on how fast your computer is. So this is rendered in 3 seconds, and we press continue, and here we've got a render. Now it's got quite a bit of grain, can you see in here? So what we could say is that, okay, then let's double this. We're going to tell it you can take up to 16 samples, but also remember I said that some light, so go to light properties. You can also come in here and let's say I'm going to say to you, you can have double the samples on each one. So remember it took 3 seconds, and now I've just doubled all the settings, and I'm going to press render again. So let's see how long, because it took just over 3 seconds before. So the more higher the settings are, so now it took 10 seconds. However, if we look between the two images here, look on the image, you can see the grain is just about gone. Once you're happy, you simply go over to File, the very top, Save RGB, and I just go down and always save them as JPEGs. Now it'll bring it through to your image folder, so jump one back to your actual main folder, right mouse click, create a folder, call it renders, go in that folder and then give it a name. I'm just going to call it R1 for render 1 and press save. And now in your actual folder is the actual render. So if I go to that folder, I double click, and there it is, ready for you to use. And it's as simple as that. You've created your first render, you've created basic shapes, you've textured them, you've lit them, and now all you need to do, you can shut this down, is you go to save, save all. It's saying, do you want to save the objects? Yes. And now it's going to go straight to my scenes folder to save this scene. So let's call this shapes scene 1. Save. And now I've saved all my project and my objects, and we've done. And it's a matter of repeating this process: basic shapes, basic texturing, basic lighting, and basic rendering. Thanks for listening.